Hey guys, I hope everybody's having a fantastic day, whether you're watching this in the morning, in the afternoon, or in the evening. I'm just glad you're here. First thing I want to do is say thank you to the channel members. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank you for anyone who subscribed to the channel, and thank you for anyone who just comes in and watches my knife and EDC content. If you like it, and you're so inclined and you hadn't had a chance yet, if you hit that subscribe button and the bell notification icon, it really does help me out. So today I was going to go through my most recent, say the last quarter, we'll call it this summer, my favorite, most carried, for different reasons, USA made, folding pocket knives. So this is going to be 10, and it's going to start kind of with my EDC size knives, starting with this TRM Bulldog. And this is not going to be like this is the number 10 to number 1. It's going to go from kind of EDC size knives to bigger, more hard use knives. So the TRM Bulldog is a knife that I got recently. TRM sent me, and it's one that really impressed me. I'm more of a liner frame lock guy than I am a bar lock guy, or river lock in this case. However, for TRM, this is a knife that's about the size of the Neutron. It's unique in that it has the thickest blade stock that TRM has ever employed in a folding knife. It's Magna Cut. It's got a really deep flat ground blade. Very nice G10 handles that are just very nicely textured. And then the river lock is super smooth. There's absolutely no friction between the washers, blade, and the scales, and it is a laser beam. So I love this knife because it's small, it carries very well with a deep carry titanium clip, it is very slicey, very pokey, and ergonomically for me, it is a very medium, to quote Christine from Women Carry Knives, small, medium-sized knife. I really enjoy it, and like I say, I'm not normally a river lock or axis lock type of guy, but in this case, I really do like this one. It's one of my faves. So that is the TRM Bulldog, nice light USA made Magna Cut G10 carry. Moving on, we come to one that's always in my top 10 USA made knives. This is my Koenig Mini Arius. It is a medium sized knife. I wouldn't call it small. I call it small, medium, about the same size as a Benchmade bug out. It's got a nice grip for me. I can get it in front of the flipper tab or behind it. It is M390. It is titanium. It does have the flipper tab. Absolutely fantastic knife. Probably one of the finest machine knives that I have in my collection. Now, I've felt experienced with some knives by Craig Brown and others, some that are just right up there, if not surpassing the Koenig Arius. But in my collection, it's definitely one of the, what would you call it, most refined USA made folders in my collection. And that's the Koenig Mini Arius. Also, very, very slicey, great sharpening choil. Cuts like a dream. I'm the one that's messing that up by being spastic. Very slicey and drop shutty. And the milling on this knife, the detail on the back spacer, the detail on the clip, the fact that you can see the number through the scale when the blade's open, it is just a really impressive knife. A knife that I love. It'll be a forever knife for me, and it'll probably always be in my top 10 EDCs and USA made knives because I do carry it quite a bit. It's a user. Moving on, we come to another one of my small, medium sized knives. This one might jump all the way up to medium size, but this is my SPK Lamia. It's a Friday the 13th edition from this year, earlier this year. No, late last year. It is the Gen 3, if I'm not mistaken, on skiff bearings. has a crew wear blade. This is the black distress finish. They also had this in orange, but it's titanium, micro milled, designed extremely well. It is CNC assisted, but Alex does an amazing job. I mean, his knives are super sharp. The ergonomics and the functionality of this knife are as good as any. I'll put it up there with the Koenig Arius. It is a neutral knife that fits my hand perfectly. I don't feel the clip at all. However, it goes in and out of pocket very, very well. I like the fact that it is crew wear. Even though I have no problem with MagnaCut or LMax, I'm a big fan of crew wear. So this is a great knife. CNC assisted blade grind there. Perfectly tuned, perfectly machined, perfectly centered, and just a wonderful knife. And this is the SPK Lamia, and it is just a wonderful mid-sized knife. Last small medium sized knife. This one of my absolute favorites is this McNees Mac 2 3.5 inch little hollow ground MagnaCut, handmade by Mr. McNees down in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, my home state. An absolute laser beam, thicker grind, so this could kind of bridge that gap between EDC knife and hard use knife. It's a smaller or medium sized knife that is a little bit thicker in both the scales and the blade stock. I would consider this to be more of a hard worker than some of the earlier knives like the Koenig that we were looking at. But I love this knife. I actually put this knife for a while on skiff thick washers, and it was fantastic. It's just a great all-around knife. I'm a huge fan, and this is the McNees Mac 2 3.5 inch, just a little banger of a knife, done very well. Hollow ground, great action. I'm just a huge fan, and it's got a Lynch Northwest clip on it, as a matter of fact, a short clip. Moving on, we come to another truly medium-sized knife. This is the only flipper-only knife in this group, and probably one of my favorite knives, one of my favorite American-made knives, even though it's not one of the most valuable. This is my Protech Mordax. This is the second generation Mordax. I had the first gen. It had a little detent lash. I called Protech. Got some of the best customer service. I told them about it. Told them it really didn't bother me, but I did have a little detent lash, and they said that absolutely was not normal. Send it in. They would try to fix it. When it came back, which was about 7 days later, not 7 business days, 7 total days, it was a brand new knife, because the knife I sent them had some scuffs in it. Came back no scuffs, perfectly tuned. I'd taken my Lynch clip off, which that's a Lynch clip. I'd put the regular clip back on it. But this is ergonomically fantastic. 3.5 inch blade, MagnaCut, aluminum handle, some of the best action in the game. I love my Protech Malibu reverse Tonto, but this knife beats it out as an EDC knife. I love the Lynch clip. I love the way it operates. I love how smooth it is, and I love what a great cutter it is. So that's the Protech Mordax. It is definitely one of my top 10 USA made knives that's been carried this last quarter, we'll say, more than just a month. So then we're going to talk about some of the bigger, heavier use, my weekend knives, my vine cutters, my one I'm going to go out and just cut a lot of stuff, right? This has now become and passed up my Mannix 2 as my favorite Spyderco. This is my cutlery shop exclusive CTS XHP Spyderco Shaman. It's got some sharp dress scales on it. It is a thick blade stock with some of the best cutting geometry, one of the sliciest knives. Still has the factory edge on it. And compression lock. I love the tool steel, the CTS XHP. I love the ergonomics of this knife. I still love my Max too. Don't get me wrong with my, God, I've gone blank on the scales. Anyway, on the killer scales that it's got on it, I'll come up with those rock scale designs. But this knife, after I started carrying it, I kept carrying it. It's just a fantastic blade. A little bit more what I would consider a medium large size knife, full size knife. This is my Spyderco Shaman, and it's definitely been one of my top 10 over, we'll call it, over the summer, right? So we'll say this has been for the last 6 months. These knives have been my go-to USA knives. Moving on, we come to one that finds its way in my pocket quite a bit. I love this knife. This is such a great user. This is my Strider SNG. It is a G10 crosshatch that's kind of a full front side scale that joins up with the flame titanium lock side. This is a PD1 blade steel, which is a tool steel. Strider uses some really interesting steels, but this knife is extremely slicey. It's extremely strong. It's a very tough steel. It's one that if I needed to go out there and cut metal straps or misuse my knife, this knife would be one that you could misuse. I don't misuse it. I don't have to, but I do carry it. I do use it. I do cut with it. The blade finish has held up amazingly well. I've processed more cardboard with this knife. It is just a great cutter. It's ergonomically superior to a lot of knives that I have. Just feels great in the hand. The action is spot on. It broke in like a dream. Had a little bit of lock stick when I first got it. Has absolutely no lock stick. Blade flies open. I've got no side to side. It's fully tightened down. Fantastic knife. I recommend it to anybody who wants to try one out. Strider SNG. Moving on, my most carried Hinderer, surprisingly enough, is my plain old XM-18. I have a flipperless Eclipse that I really like, but for a daily carry for an EDC knife, I've got two 3-inch Hinderers, a Warncliffe and a Skinner. This is a Spanto, S45 Spanto. I sharpened it at about 19 degrees. Very slicey. S45 seems to hold an edge very well. It's got a thick tip in case I need to misuse it, because Hinderers are hard use knives. It does have the show side titanium battle bronze scale to match the lock side battle bronze scale. Tri-way pivot system that's running on skiff bearings right now, but it can also run on the stainless steel bearings that ship with the Hinderers, or the phosphorus bronze washers, or the Teflon washers. It ships with Teflon washers. That's why I call it tri-way. Phosphorus bronze washers and the bearings. It's a great knife, guys. I was never attracted to or a fan of Hinderers until I actually carried one for a while, and that was at Dark Gravity was nice enough to let me carry one that I ended up buying from him. But they are great tools. They're very hardy, and this walks on the harder use end of the knives that I carry, but it carries like a dream. So that is the Hinderer 3.5-inch XM-18. Then we come to one of my favorite Medfords. Been in my pocket a lot this last half year. This is my Infraction. I did not carry this a lot just because it was a thicker knife, but then I picked up the Midi Marauder, and after carrying it, this knife does not feel that thick. My Slim Midi was probably in my top 10 the last time I did this, but the Infraction is such, to me, a sexy blade. I love the pattern. This is the Stars and Bars S35 VN hollow ground blade. Very well done. Just a wonderful knife on washers. It's got perfect flickability, whether you use the hole or whether you use the fuller above the hole. It's got a flipper tab if you're more of a traditional flipper guy or gal. And for as thick of a blade as it is, which is very, very thick, it's very slicey. It is very sharp. It's got a factory edge on it. And it is a cutter. Cuts thicker materials, heavier materials, fleshier materials better. But I just think the Infraction is probably the sexiest Medford knife. I really like my slim midi too. I'm not taking anything away from that. But this knife is fantastic. And that is the Medford Infraction. So that leads us to my biggest, my hardest used favorite knife of this last 6 months, and it is going to be the Spartan Harsey SHR, Spartan Harsey folder. Full-size Spartan, battle-tested, ready to go. This is a tactical knife by every stretch of the imagination. It's got a tactical blade, tactical profile, very much a jabber. You could jab this through just about anything. My 4-inch or my full-size Harsey is in Magna Cut. This is the Plague Doctor series. It's on bronze washers, excuse me. And it is an absolute banger. Again, it's more of a through the Coke can stabber knife, but it also slices very well. It's got a thicker grind. I sharpen this to about 600 grit and probably need to strop it, but it's never been one of my slicier knives, but it is definitely a worker. No blade play, a very basic, solid, hard to use knife that even over my XM-18 you could put this knife through anything. It is just an absolute baller of a knife. Again, a knife that early on in my knife days did not attract my attention, had no need for it, didn't want it, didn't think it was attractive. Really got turned on during about the first year of my collecting years. I really liked the Plague Doctor motif. Didn't think I'd ever own one, but had a chance to get this guy sometime early last year and just love it. So that is the Plague Doctor, Spartan Harsey. We have the Medford Infraction, and these are just my go-to 10, guys. My go-to 10 for now. That's always likely to change, and that's what makes the knife game, to me, so enjoyable. All of these are bangers. Get to some of the smaller ones. We'll have to leave a bunch of these out, but I'll definitely show them to you. See if we can squeeze the Koenig in there, and then we're going to squeeze the Bulldog. Whoops, as I fail it right at the end here. Squeeze the Bulldog right up here. And guys, those are 10 awesome USA made knives that I love to carry, spanning the smaller size to the bigger size. They're all more premium knives. Some of them are more mid-price, but that's just what I've been carrying. I love them all. Guys, I appreciate you watching the content. I hope you found it enjoyable, entertaining, saw something maybe, learned something maybe, saw something you didn't know about. Not really learned something, but I appreciate you checking it out. All I ask is please, please, please look out for the guy or gal to your left. Please look out for the guy or gal to your right. Please look out for each other. Go forward with love in your heart. Hit the like button if you don't mind. Hit the subscribe button if you're still here. But please choose debate, not hate. I love you all. Peace.